Hello everyone, and thanks for checking out this video. Following my ranking of every movie in the Jurassic franchise, I'm going to do a video ranking my favorite scenes of all of the movies. I don't think this is going to be as controversial as my movie ranking, but I guess we'll see. Comment your own favorite scenes down below. I am also planning on doing a video ranking all of the deaths, yes, all of the deaths in the entire franchise. So subscribe to the channel if you want to get into that discussion. Really, any excuse to talk about these movies is good enough for me. I also do a lot of videos on dinosaur games, so, if you're into that sort of stuff, check out the channel. Today's comment shoutout goes to Casey. Thank you so much for being there during the live stream, and thank you for your nice comment. My approach to this ranking of the movie scenes is as follows. First, I'm going to go through the entire franchise in chronological order and pick 2 scenes from each movie that I think are the absolute best in that film. Why 2? Why not just 1 or 3? Well, for the original, even picking only 2 scenes was very challenging. It was like Sophie's Choice. If Sophie had a dozen kids and could only pick 2. But for some of the other movies, finding more than 1 truly fantastic scene is like digging for a second satellite phone in Spinosaurus shit, when you know there's only 1 phone. I went with 2 as a compromise between those polar opposites. Maybe some of these push the boundaries and are better defined as sequences, but at the end of the day, I think we can all agree that most laymen will call these iconic movie moments scenes, and well, that's good enough for me. This video is just for fun, and like I said, any excuse to talk about these movies, am I right? So please share your own favorites in a comment down below, and let's get started geeking out. And remember, I'm just gonna go through them chronologically at first, picking 2 scenes per movie, and then I'm going to rank them at the end of the video. The T-Rex main road attack is one of many iconic scenes in the movie. The atmosphere of the entire scene is incredible. It's pure terror mixed with the perfect amount of humor. The T-Rex is brought to life impeccably through the combination of the Stan Winston animatronic and the ILM digital model. And yes, I know there are actually differences between how the two look, but the movie magic is that I never even noticed, and even now that I do know, it still doesn't take me out of the movie. It's an example of how this movie is actually far from perfect, but it gets the most important things so right that I don't care that a raptor disappears for a single frame during the finale, and I don't care that you can see the cables on the car when the Rex flips it, and I don't even care that sometimes, the CGI looks like it's from the 90s. Duh. Because you just get swept up in this movie. Steven directed the hell out of this movie and out of this scene. It's exciting, it's thrilling, and it's full of great character moments. Also, the kids are acting their asses off. We'll circle back to that later. I just think it's fantastic how it introduces the scale of the danger they are in, and I love how that is later juxtaposed by the velociraptors, where you're actually shown that these smaller velociraptors prove to be even more terrifying. I think this scene is great, and I don't expect I'm ruffling any feathers by saying that. The other pick is the kitchen scene. The entire sequence of the velociraptors in the visitor center is my favorite, and might even be my favorite 15 minutes in all of movie history. But since I'm making myself narrow it down to a scene, I'll pick the kitchen scene, because I can honestly say that this has had an impact on my life. I was one of those kids who watched The Land Before Time over and over again, even though the death of the mother gutted me every single time. And I was also the kid who watched Jurassic Park again and again, even though this scene with the raptors traumatized me. I was so scared of velociraptors growing up. I wanted to have a lock on my bedroom door just to keep velociraptors out. That's how scared I was. And the scene still scares me. Slowly throughout the movie, we see more and more of the raptors, getting our first proper look when Ellie is in the maintenance shed, but it's really in the kitchen when they are fully revealed, and it just hits you how much scarier it is to be hunted by something that can follow you into buildings where you are supposed to be safe and where you feel safe. It was very purposeful of Steven to have the raptors attack them in a more familiar environment to the audience than the jungle, and that was really great. Again, the kids' acting is so fantastic. I'm not the biggest fan of child actors, but they did a stellar job, especially Ariana. I can't stress often enough how many more fantastic scenes there are in this movie, and how hard it was to narrow it down to 2. I also really loved the final showdown in the lobby. I love the scene in the maintenance shed. I love the cold open. I love Muldoon's death scene, but I'll talk more about that during the future video ranking all of the deaths. Same goes for Nedry's death. I love the non-action scenes like Alan scaring the kid, the discussion over lunch, the baby raptor hatching. It's safe to say it's my favorite movie of all time. But I had to pick 2 scenes, so here they are, and it hurts. The trailer attack in The Lost World is a standout moment in the movie. I think even a lot of people who still despise this sequel do appreciate that particular scene. The logistics of it are a little bit wanky, a little bit unrealistic, but I don't want to get into that. In this video, I'm focusing on the positives, and overall, this is just a good scene. It's pretty spectacular, and it ends with what might be the only, albeit slightly, emotionally charged deaths in the entire franchise, because Eddie was a damn good guy. He was a hero. I think it's the only time in the franchise that someone died and was actually missed afterwards, however briefly. Like, they had their existence acknowledged after their demise. When the trailer gets flipped, that shot is really a wow moment. I personally like that we don't get to see the Rexes do any of it. We're just in there, in the trailer, experiencing it with the characters, without a money shot of the Rex charging forward, which I think would have cheapened the moment a bit. And the part with Sarah on the glass pane was a really clever way of creating tension without a dinosaur actually being present in the moment, so that was a creative use of the consequences of an initial attack. My other pick for The Lost World is, in comparison, a very short scene. It is the raptor attack in the long grass. AJ's line in this is iconic. Every Jurassic Park movie has that one quote that just sticks with you, or with me at least. And for the original, of course, it's clever girl. For The Lost World, it's don't go into the long grass. And for Jurassic Park 3, it's a birdcage. I just love it. The overhead shot of the raptors cutting through the long grass to sneak up on the group is, so good. It's such a simple but effectively terrifying shot, and I think it's one of many of those Steven Spielberg gems. Jurassic Park 3 is where things got most dicey for me. Even though it's not my least favorite movie of them all, it is one of 2 that really doesn't peak much for me. It more or less muddles through in a manner that I find mostly inoffensive and actually entertaining, I guess. I decided on the Spinosaurus attack on the boat and the Pteranodon attack in the birdcage. The Spinosaurus attack on the boat is actually really great in my opinion. The Spinosaurus looks fantastic, it looks scary, and it's different just because it takes place in water. The scene does cut back and forth to Charlie and Barney though, of all things. But if you cut those parts out, which the movie really should have done, it's a good dinosaur attack scene. The other choice is the Pteranodon scene. Again, because it introduces something new, and I like the horror reveal of the Pteranodon in the mist. A bit cheesy, I'll admit, but it works for this movie. I don't have much to say about these scenes, which probably clues you in on how they are going to rank at the end of this video. I guess I just think they're good. And there are more parts of this film that I like, even though I know they aren't technically good scenes. For example, I like the part of the raptor attack in the compound as well, but I couldn't in good conscience pick that one because then we are dealing with the can of worms that is the raptor's ridiculous hyper intelligence, and I just couldn't go there. I couldn't do it. Jurassic World was the other one that was hard for me to find two scenes that really stand out, but mostly because I haven't committed this movie to memory all that well. It's a little bit murky in my head, but when I really started to look into it, I did find two clear winners. First, chronologically, is the short scene of the Mosasaurus feeding show near the start of the movie. One of the things that I do really enjoy about Jurassic World is seeing the park in action. That is just gratuitous, vicarious fun for me. One problem with those moments are that they are interspersed with the actual setup of the plot, and the other problem is that I find Gray way too cringy to enjoy experiencing the park through his eyes. But for the Mosasaur show, the movie really gets the spectacle of that right. I would love to be in that splash zone, as unwise as it is. The Mosa is, of course, far too large to be realistic, we all know that, but I don't mind it. It's a genetically modified attraction, so why wouldn't they make it as big as possible, even beyond realism? This short scene just blew my mind. It was the one thing from the trailers that really got me hyped up for the movie, and it's the one thing in this movie that never fails to make me grin. I love the Mosa. The trick of this is kind of repeated later on with Sarah's death, but her death is so gruesome when you start to think about it that I got a tiny bit nauseous when I first saw it. And that just means I prefer the more palatable version of the Mosa eating Jaws. That's not to say, by the way, that the death scene is bad, but again, that's for a future video. The other favorite scene in Jurassic World is, somewhat begrudgingly, the final battle between Rexy and the Indominus. I'm not dead inside, okay? My heart did do a little flutter when Rexy appeared in the darkness attracted by the glow of the flare. But my heart also sank a bit at the CGI extravaganza that followed. It was a cool battle, it was definitely cool, but it was also very obviously fake throughout, which kept it from being truly top-notch for me. But yeah, as a dinosaur fan and as a longtime Jurassic fan, this scene got a couple of woohoos out of me. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was by far the easiest to narrow down to two favorite scenes. Why, you might ask, because if you've seen my controversial ranking, you know I ranked this movie last. But the movie has two scenes that instantly jump out and are, frankly, damn near brilliant, and Bayona's directing really shines in these two scenes. The first is just the entire cold open. I think this cold open is just as good as the one for the original Jurassic Park. Now, you can't really compare the two and say one is better than the other. I think these are both equally good for the movie that they preceded. In the original Jurassic Park, they had to do a cold open with a bit of mystery. They couldn't show anything, they couldn't give away the goods right away, and they handled that perfectly. And similarly, Fallen Kingdom handles the opening for itself also perfectly. The cat was already out of the bag, we've all seen dinosaurs at this point, so they used the spectacle of being able to show them to their advantage, while still building up the reveal through the thunder and the darkness underwater. Honestly, as a short film, the cold open would be incredible and far superior to Battle at Big Rock, in my opinion. Oh god, I was trying not to be controversial with this one. I love the simple shot of the submarine lights going out under the surface of the water, and I love Rexy tugging on the ladder and how she's imperfectly lit by the helicopter light. And then that brief moment of victory before the Mosa jumps out and eats the guy. It's so good. I actually felt for the guy, and the reaction of the other two was so simple but humanizing. I loved it. The other scene I genuinely loved in Fallen Kingdom is the gyrosphere falling off the cliff. For starters, it's one of 2 points in the movie where emotions hit me. Seeing all of the dinosaurs desperately jump off the cliff to escape the volcanic ash, only to then drown? As a fan of dinosaurs and animals in general, that was horrifying. And I didn't feel like they were milking the moment too much, the way I do think they did by not just having the brachy of all animals die on the docks, but to also have it rear up like in the first movie. They probably shouldn't have done that. But the idea of all of those dinosaurs drowning was really sad, for lack of better words. And the scene that followed is really impressive. It looks like it's just one long, seamless take. All three actors are doing a great job. Franklin is doing great, being the right amount of terrified, not annoyingly so. Owen trying to get them out is great, and there's this little moment between him and Claire where you're reminded of the history there. Also, drowning is probably one of the worst ways to die that I can think of, and then having to watch a person you love go through that, unable to save them, is heavy stuff. It's overall a good package. Alright, so now that I have what I think are the 10 best scenes in the franchise, I'm going to quickly rank them. I really don't think this requires too much explanation. If you've paid attention for the past God knows how long I've been rambling. Too long, that's the only thing I can say for sure. It's been too long. So let's wrap it up with this ranking. For the ranking, we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up to the top. So we're going to start at number 10 over here and go up to number 1. Now, the bottom 2 spots are reserved for scenes from the same movie, and you probably guessed it, they are both for the Jurassic Park 3 scenes. Now, I like these scenes for a Jurassic Park 3 scene, but you know, in the grand scheme of things, they still rank the lowest. And the lowest of all is the Pteranodon scene, which is pretty cool, but, you know, the characters are not great. And the number 9 spot goes to the Spinosaurus attack on the boat, because it's cut up with these weird moments of Charlie and Barney, of all things. Number 8 is for the Jurassic World movie, and it is the final battle between Rexy and the Indominus Rex, with of course the help of Blue. Number 7, we're gonna go to The Lost World, and this is the raptor attack in the long grass. I love this still. He was screaming way before he got attacked, which is kind of funny. Also maybe one of the reasons why it ranks in the bottom 5. Number 6 is from the last movie we saw appear in this franchise, and it is the gyrosphere falling off the cliff scene. It's a really great scene, it just narrowly missed out on making the top 5 of scenes. Rounding off the top 5 is actually the Mosasaurus feeding show from Jurassic World. I love it so much. It's such a cheap moment, but I love it so much. There's zero depth in there, but it's so good. Number 4, just missing out on the top 3, is the trailer attack, which ends in Eddie's tragic death. Rest in peace, Eddie, you were a hero. And then we have number 3, so it made it to the top 3. My least favorite movie in the franchise. It's Cold Open, is brilliant. I have to give it the 3rd place. And of course, the number 1 and the number 2 spots are 4 scenes from the original Jurassic Park. Now I'm gonna put the kitchen scene at number 1 and the main road attack at number 2. Just because, like I said during this video, I think the raptors, the small carnivores, are actually much more terrifying than the big dinosaur, which was a surprising flip in the movie, and it's just why they deserve the top spots, because they are terrifying. Now, if you've been a subscriber and you've been playing along with the game of 2 truths and a lie on the community tab, you will now know what the one lie was for our last game. I do pick the a scene from the original Jurassic Park as my all-time favorite. In all fairness, I must say that the ranking only turned out this way because I limited myself to 2 scenes per movie. If the number per movie was unlimited, the entire top 10 of scenes would have just been from the original Jurassic Park. But this was more interesting, and maybe also more fair to the other movies. I mean, you can't beat a classic, and you can't expect anything to beat a classic. I'm curious to see what kinds of spectacular scenes Dominion will have in store for us, and how they are going to rank. That concludes my ranking of the best scenes of each of the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies. Again, I'd love it if you'd share your own favorites in a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, it would mean so much to me if you'd leave a like, and I hope you will check out future videos as well. If you don't want to miss out on anything like the ranking of all deaths in the franchise, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you'll actually get a notification of when I upload. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, enjoy the movies.